Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Tuesday, June 22nd, 2021 Public Board Meeting to order. May we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mrs. Burns, roll call, please.
Mr. Parentano. Mr. Allen.
Present.
Mrs. Bowman.
Here.
Ms. Boyle.
Here.
Mrs. Hallenbach.
Present.
Mr. Kovitz.
Here.
Mr. Marrington.
Here.
Mr. Cirillo.
Here.
Mr. Sullivan.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Mrs. Burns. The board, excuse me. The board met in executive session this evening. Hold on a second. Okay. The board met in executive session this evening prior to the meeting to discuss matters of employment, issues related to labor relations, the purchase or lease of real property, matters related to litigation, and matters related to school safety and security. Mrs. Burns, are there any announcements this evening?
I do not have any announcements.
The board president does have an announcement. I'm going to wait till later in the evening to make it when I get my voice back. So I will be making an announcement before board comments. Dr. McGee, superintendent's reports.
Thank you, Mr. Parentano. A week ago today, we graduated, we had the 126th commencement ceremony at Neshaminy, graduating the class of 2021. Outstanding evening, outstanding weather, outstanding event. Well done by Mr. Staub, his team, our seniors, and all the staff at Neshaminy High School. Just 3 days prior to that, fourth graders and eighth graders had their move-up ceremonies at each of our middle schools. Again, very similar events. Well done to all. And I'd like to take the time as we close the school year to thank students, parents, staff, and the board itself for being so supportive and moving us over the course of the last 15 months. We didn't always agree on everything, but we definitely had the same goal in mind, and that was about the between 9,000 and 10,000 students here at Neshaminy. So thank everyone. That closes this year. We're going to move on to next year now. So breathe. We're in next year. The July board meeting, which will have a date change. We haven't nailed down that date yet, but there'll be a date change on it. The July board meeting will see 3 presentations. One is the required health and safety plan for next year, to give you some insight on what that plan looks like. Right now, the superintendents in Bucks County, along with Dr. Damster, the director of the Bucks County Department of Health, have a draft version out there, and that basically takes the coronavirus and the disease COVID and reduces it to how we handle the annual flu, things like measles, whooping cough, meningitis, I'm sure I'm missing a few, in our school environment. So it's the move to normalize. So we hope in September it's going to look a lot like September 2019, if not exactly like September 2019, with the exception of a lot more hand sanitizer around, because we have a lot of that. So that's one presentation. Now I will get that out to the community and parents well advanced in that, so they can see that it is just that, normalizing our school environment with the coronavirus still around, as we have normalized our school environment with the chickenpox, with measles, etc. Also at the July board meeting will be a presentation about the proposed new elementary school, its design, etc. So that's on our slate for July. And also in July, we're going to present the learning loss plan as to how we're going to determine what the best ways are to catch students up who may have lost some basic skills along the way. And much of that focuses on our early learners, because if we don't catch them early, we never seem to catch them. In doing that, the district has not received all, but somewhere between $12 and $13 million in federal stimulus funds that'll be used to fund many things. Some already spent, some hasn't arrived yet. So we're working on that and make sure that when we're done with that, we have safe environments and a good instructional plan to not only support students who struggled over the last 15 months, but better our organization into the future by leaving something there. So that's what's up for the July board meeting, 3 presentations. The August board meeting, similar things. We will adjust as needed as things change, and that is a big meeting to hire people. If you're out there and looking for employment, we have plenty of jobs for you. Even if you don't want a job, come work for us. Consider it volunteering. We will pay you as well, particularly those in our cafeteria to be able to open schools next year. So, Mr. Parentano, that is my report for tonight.
Thank you, Dr. McGee. This will move us to our first period of public comment. Are there any sign-ups for public comment?
Yes, Berkeley Brenner.
Hi, I'm Berkeley Brenner, and I am a student at Maple Point. I'm a new 6th grader, and I live on Temper Road in Levittown. I really enjoyed my teachers this year and being in person, but next year, I really hope we will be able to go into school maskless because I've missed seeing my teacher's face, and it's hard to hear them with these masks on. But I've also missed seeing my friends' faces too, and seeing them smile, and some mad faces too. But next year it'd also be nice to have a nice big lunch table so you wouldn't have to yell over to your friends. It was really nice to be able to continue the activities this year because I got to join symphonic choir in the 5th and 6th grade cabaret. It was really nice to continue this. It was a great opportunity for me since this was my first year at Maple Point. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
No further signups.
No further? Okay, we'll move on to our routine matters. I'd like to make a master motion for 2.01 minutes, 2.02 treasurer's report, 2.03 check register and procurement card purchases, 2.04 budget transfers, 2.05 investments, 2.06 exonerations. A master motion's been made. May I have a second? Second by Mr. Sullivan. Any comments, questions, or concerns? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes 9-0. This brings us to section 301, retirements, resignations, end of assignments. Resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby approves the following retirements, resignations of administrative staff, and there is one name attached to the staff, to the report. Motion's been made on 3.01. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Hollenbach. Any comments, questions, or concerns? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Marrington, could you read 4.01, please?
Yep, certainly. 4.01, retirements, resignations, end of assignments. Resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby approves the following retirements, resignations of certified staff. And there's one name. Oh, no, wait a minute. Yeah, just the one name. I would like to say, though, that she had 32 years of service at Neshaminy, and we wish her luck in her retirement.
Thank you, Mr. Marrington. Motion's been made on 4.01. May I have a second? Second by Mrs. Boyle. Any comments, questions, or concerns? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes 9-0. Mrs. Bowman, could you read 4.02, please?
Sure, I'd like to make a motion, 4.02, appointments. Be it resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby approve the following appointments for certified staff. And there are 19 names on the list.
Thank you, Mrs. Bowman. A motion's been made on 4.02. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Kovitz. Any comments, questions, or concerns on the issue, on this motion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes 9-0. That moves us on to 4.03. Mrs. Boyle, could you read 4.03, please?
Yes, 4.03, resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby approves the following leaves of absence for certified staff, and there are 6 names there.
Thank you, Mrs. Boyle. Motion's been made on 4.03. May I have a second? Second by Mr. Sullivan. Any comments, questions, or concerns on 4.03? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Kovitz, could you read 5.01, please?
Yep. Retirements, resignations, and of assignments. Resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby approves the following retirements, resignations of support staff. And there are 14 names, most notably the last one, 36.8 years with the district.
Thank you, Mr. Kovitz. A motion's been made on 5.01. May I have a second? Second by Mrs. Bowman. Any comments, questions, or concerns? Again, as Mr. Kovitz stated, we would like Mr. Skoda to enjoy his well-deserved retirement, and thank you for your nearly 37 years of service here at Neshaminy. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Cirilla, 5.02, please.
I'd like to make a motion for 5.02, appointments. Resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby approves the following appointments of support staff, and there are 10 names listed.
Thank you, Mr. Cirillo. A motion's been made on 5.02. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by, who was it? Mrs. Hollenbach. Comments, questions, or concerns on the motion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Allen, could you make a master motion for 5.03, 5.04, and 5.05, please? No, it's a master motion.
I'd like to bring a motion to the floor for a master motion for 5.03, leaves of absence, 5.04, revised leaves of absence, and 5.05, returns from leave.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Master motion's been made for 5.03, 5.04, 5.05. May I have a second? Second by Mr. Sullivan. Any comments, questions, or concerns? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Sullivan, could you read 6.01, please?
6.01, Site Logic IQ Proposal, Construction for New Elementary School. This agreement is entered into this 22nd day of June 2021 by and between the Neshaminy School District and Reynolds Construction LLC, DBA, Site Logic Construction Management. Whereas Site Logic IQ Construction Management is a fictitious name with the Pennsylvania Corporation Bureau, and Reynolds Construction is the owner of said fictitious name. Whereas the Board of School Directors for Neshaminy School District has authorized the design and bidding of the construction of a new elementary school on the Maple Point site, the project, And whereas the school district desires to obtain construction management services on behalf of the school district for the project, which is to be designed by Spiesel Architectural Group, Inc., the architect, and Gilmore and Associates, the civil engineer, which architect and civil engineer shall professionally prepare plans and specifications and such other documents necessary for the construction of the project, collectively the contract documents. And whereas the school district seeks to competitively bid the construction of the project and award the project to separate prime contractors who shall construct the project in accordance with the project schedule, and whereas SiteLogic desires and is capable to provide construction required to plan, coordinate, and administer the project as set forth herein, and now therefore, in consideration of the mutual promises herein contained, the school district and SiteLogic agree as attached.
Motion's been made on 6.01. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Allen. Any comments, questions, or concerns? Mr. Tarente, before we move forward on the vote of this item, have the contracts been agreed upon and delivered in an acceptable form?
They have been. I went through several revisions to the draft agreement with Reynolds or SiteLogic, and it's in a form acceptable to me as solicitor, and I recommend approval to the board.
Thank you. Mr. Irwin, have you had a chance to review the documents? Are they acceptable to you?
Yes, I reviewed them as well. They're acceptable to the district, in my opinion.
Dr. McGee, same question?
Yes, they're acceptable.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded on 6.01. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Cirillo, could you read 6.02, please?
I'd like to make a motion for 6.02, contracted transportation service. Whereas the current Student Transportation of America, STA, contract addendum allows for an extension. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby approves the attached 3-year addendum that extends the STA contract through the 2023-24 school year.
Thank you, Mr. Cirillo. Motion's been made on 6.02. May I have a second? Second by Mrs. Hollenbach. Any comments, questions, or concerns on this item? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 9-0. Mrs. Boyle, could you read 6.02, please? Excuse me, 6.03, please?
Contracted healthcare consultant services. Resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby approves the contractual agreement and service relationship with the following company and individuals for the 2021-22 school year. Stalker and Associates Healthcare and Prescription Benefit Plan Consultant.
Thank you, Mrs. Boyle. Motion's been made on 6.03. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Kovitz. Any comments, questions, or concerns? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 9-0. Mrs. Hollenbach, could you read 6.04, please?
6.04, stop loss insurance for 2021 through 2022 school year. Excuse me. Whereas the Neshaminy School District utilizes Independence Blue Cross as a third-party provider for medical and prescription coverage for employees. And whereas the district has received a recommendation from its healthcare consultant, Stalker and Associates, Inc., in regards to contracting with an insurance provider for stop-loss coverage. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby accepts the recommendation of Stalker and Associates, Inc., to contract with the U.S. Fire Insurance Company for medical and prescription stop-loss insurance coverage with a deductible level of $300,000 and aggregated specific provisions of $100,000. And then administration files are attached.
Thank you, Ms. Hollenbach. A motion's been made on 6.04. May I have a second? Second by Mrs. Bowman. Any comments, questions, or concerns on this item? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 9-0. 6.05, on the advice of our business manager, we're going to table that item. Is there any reason to not table? Hearing none, 6.05 will be tabled. Brings us to 6.06. Mr. Marrington, could you please read that?
Okay, 6.06, budgetary adjustments for federal and other programs. Whereas each year, the Neshaminy Board of School Directors, in accordance with instructions from the Auditor General's Office, must adjust its receipts and expenditures budget to match the total amount of monies received for other programs. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the total 2020-21 adjusted budget, including the attached changes, now totals $189,355,802. And be it further resolved that appropriate revenue and expense adjustments should be made by the business administrator to account for the increases or decreases identified in the district fund numbers outlined in the attached document.
Thank you, Mr. Marrington. Motion's been made on 6.06. May I have a second? Second by Mrs. Bowman. Any comments, questions, or concerns? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes 9-0. Mrs. Hollenbeck, 6.07, please.
6.07, 2021 through 2022 final operating budget. Whereas the Neshaminy Board of School Directors has reviewed and adopted proposed final budget on May 11th, 2021, all in accordance with Act 1 of 2006 and the Public School Code of 1949 as amended, and whereas notice of intent to adopt the budget has been duly advertised as required by law, and the budget was also made public throughout the process on PDE Form 2028 as required by law. And whereas in accordance with the Pennsylvania School Code, the Board of School Directors must adopt a final operating budget for the 2021 through 2022 fiscal year. Now therefore be it resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors adopts a final operating budget of all funds as detailed below. General fund, including federal and other programs, in the amount of $187,868,987. Carryover purchase orders of $421,721. Be it further resolved that in order to fund the above, the following taxes are hereby levied. The real estate taxes is 1.65.6 mils. Interim real estate taxes, 1.65.6 mils. Per capita tax school code is $5. Per capita tax Act 511 is $10. Local services taxes, formerly OPT/EMS, is $10. Business privilege tax, 1 mil wholesale, 1.5 mils retail, $5 licensing fee. Mercantile tax, 1 mil wholesale, 1.5 mils retail, $2 license fee. Real estate transfer tax, 1%. Amusement tax, 10% as amended by law. And then the whole board document is attached.
Thank you, Mrs. Hollenbeck. Motion's been made on 6.07. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Sullivan. Any comments, questions, or concerns?
I would just like it commented that these taxes that I just read are the same as they were for this year. There has been no tax increase in this final budget.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Irwin, could you give for the community a quick synopsis of how we reached this budget this year and the obligations moving forward?
Yes, this budget represents a 3% increase in overall spending as compared to the 2021 budget. And the pandemic has put a damper on the current year's local taxes, but we expect those taxes to come back more robustly in the 21-22 school year, as well as federal stimulus money that's available for the school district to spend. So that allowed us to forgo a tax increase for this current school year.
And meeting those demands on our future liabilities and ability to raise revenue, how do we foresee the next few years of the district's budgets, funding them moving forward?
Well, moving forward, it gets very difficult because of the stimulus funding. The stimulus funding will no longer be available to us in the out years. So when we looked in our committee meeting at a 3-year outlook, the budget deficit in that third year begins to get very large and will require tax increases next year to the limit probably to pay for the debt service on the new building, elementary building here at Maple Point. And then the following year will probably require a tax increase to the index for the deficits that will be in the budget for those 2 fiscal years.
Thank you, Mr. Irwin. In addition, I know on this meeting, we are making a lot of motions that have to be agreed upon to meet our statutory requirements before the end of the fiscal year, which for us is 6/30/2021. One of the other board members wants to know that the reason for tabling 6.05 at your request. Do we need to meet that obligation, or what is our reasonability for postponing that? Excuse me? Oh, okay. Sorry. That's my mistake. So we have a motion and a second on our budget, item 6.05. I'd like to call the vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes 9-0.
Excuse me, for the record, it's 6.07 final operating budget.
Thank you. 6.07. I get confused sometimes. Mr. Irwin, are we any statutory reason that we need to complete that other motion that we tabled before the end of the year?
You know, Mr. Paratone, I apologize. When I clicked on my 6.05, it came up blank. I did not realize that there was actually content to the motion. That's why I suggested that you skip it. I apologize for that mistake. We could go back and address that this time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Irwin. But for my own knowledge, is that particular line item, that particular item is one of the statutory requirements for us, or is it just housekeeping?
It's a little bit of both. It is statutorily required that we end the year, just as the 6.06 discussed that we have to have, or 6.06 was correct, that we have to end the year in budgetary positive manner. That addressed the federal funds. This would address the local funds and all other funds that we have ended the final year within the budget, and we are then moving our money to cover any overspending from one account to the other.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to bring the motion back to the floor of 6.05, year-end budget transfers. Whereas Section 687 of the Public School Code of 1949 requires line item sums appropriate to specific purpose in the budget not to be exceeded, and whereas under the school accounting system, line items have been determined to be a major object levels within specific subfunctions, and whereas year-end adjustments by the business office and auditors may cause such line items to be exceeded, now therefore be it resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors, in accordance with directions from the Auditor General's Office, authorize the business administrator to make those necessary budget transfers within and between accounts to prevent any possible over expenditure without exceeding the total budget for the 2022 year. Motion's been made on 6.05. May I have a second? Second by Mrs. Hollenbach. Any comments, questions, or concerns? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 9-0. That brings us back to our order. 6.08, Mr. Marrington, please.
6.08, the 2021 homestead and farmstead exclusion. Be it resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby approves the attached homestead and farmstead exclusion resolution that authorizes a real estate tax assessment reduction for the school year beginning July 1st, 2021, under the provisions of the Homestead Property Exclusion Program Act, part of Act 50 of 1998, and the Taxpayer Relief Act, which is Act 1 of 2006.
Thank you, Mr. Marrington. Motion's made on 6.08. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Kovitz. Any comments, questions, or concerns? I'd like to add a comment that Mr. Marrington doesn't know how lucky he is. Years ago, we used to have to read the entire act. Usually took about 10 to 15 minutes, so you were spared.
Thank you for that.
So at this time, we have a first and we have a second on the motion of 6.08. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes 9-0. Brings us to 6.09. Mr. Sullivan, please.
6.09, appointment of auditor. Whereas the auditing firm of Malley LLP has served as auditor for the Neshaminy School District since June 2007, now therefore be it resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby approves the firm of Malley LLP to continue to serve as auditor for the Neshaminy School District for the next 3 school years. Be it further resolved that Malley LP be appointed to perform the annual audit in full compliance with the PA Department of Education at the following rates for the 2021-22, 22-23, and 23-24 fiscal years as follows: $35,000 for financial statement audit and the audit of 1 major program federal award, and $2,500 for the audit of each additional major federal award program over 1 that may be required.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Motion's been made on 6.09. May I have a second? Second by Mrs. Bowman. Any comments, questions, or concerns? Mr. Irwin, once again, this is your area of expertise. We've used Malley forever. I'm sure you know that this motion has met your review, but your overall impression of the services that Malley has offered the district during the 2 years you've been here, you've been satisfied with the results of their professional services and continue to support them to the board?
That's correct, Mr. President. They have been very professional, done very good work here. They're good to work with. They know their auditing, they know their accounting, and I would suggest that they be retained for the next 3 years for the school district.
Thank you, Mr. Irwin. Any other questions? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes 9-0. Mrs. Boyle, could you read 6.10, please?
Yes, student activity accounts. Resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby ratifies and affirms the attached student activity accounts expenses from October 2020 to March 31st, 2021.
Thank you, Mrs. Boyle. A motion's been made on 6.10. May I have a second? Second. Second by Mr. Cirillo. Any comments, questions, or concerns? Dr. McGee, this is one of those areas that is usually holds a great amount of funds and revenue that is self-raised, generally by our students. If you could just give us a short commentary on the purpose and the reason why we need to certify this.
Student activity accounts exist in our secondary buildings, and basically they're not it's not district money, but the district manages the money. It's students raising money. I'll give you an example. The junior class trip the junior class over the course of their 3 years at Neshaminy High School has various events, various fundraisers. That money goes into an account tagged to the junior class. And then there's an advisor, and the principal and a member of that junior class authorize what that can be paid for, or what that can be used to pay. For example, the junior class trip, $600 per student comes in times 500 students, that goes in the student activity account. So your clubs, those type of things have student activity accounts because it's not the district money, it's the students' money. And there's procedures and protocols to authorize the use of that money, requiring a signature of the principal, the staff advisor, and a student representative.
Thank you, Dr. McGee, for that explanation. Motion's been made. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Cirillo, 6.11, please.
I'd like to make a motion for the approval of 6.11 settlement agreement, whereas the Neshaminy School District has outlined a private and confidential agreement with the family of student numbers, there's 3 numbers listed there. Now therefore be it resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby approves providing for the educational programming as specified in said agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Cirillo. A motion's been made on 6.11. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Allen. Any comments, questions, or concerns? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes 9-0. Brings us to 6.12. Mrs. Bowman, please.
Motion 6.12, Security Service Agreement. Be it resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby approve the contractual agreement and service relationship with Cardinal Point Security Group for the 2021-2022 and the 2022-23 school year.
Thank you, Mrs. Bowman. A motion's been made on 6.12. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Kovitz. Any comments, questions, or concerns? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes 9-0. That concludes our business for this evening. This brings us to 7.01, other board business. Is there any board member have any other board business they wish to present? Hearing none from any members, I want to take this opportunity at this time for the announcement I postponed. I want to bring the district and our community up to date on recent happenings revolving around our situation with the Pennsylvania Human Rights Commission, which we hope has finally come to a conclusion. On December 7th, 2020, in a matter brought against the Neshaminy School District by the Pennsylvania Human Rights Commission, the Neshaminy School District finally had an opportunity to present its arguments to the Commonwealth Court of Pennsylvania against what the district contended was an overreach by the PHRC. The Commonwealth Court heard our appeal and reviewed the record made at the week-long PHRC hearing conducted in January of 2019. On June 7th, 2021, the result of our appeal ended in a unanimous decision and order issued by the Commonwealth Court ruling in favor of the Neshaminy School District and reversing the PHRC's decision and order. While the court, by a vote of 2 to 1, did not agree with the district's position that the PHRC had no jurisdiction over another government entity, the Commonwealth Court did agree with the district and ruled that the PHRC failed to present any evidence to support a claim of discrimination against Native American students and did not present any evidence of harm to any student. While such a conclusion was actually supported by the decision the PHRC itself reached in the January 2019 hearing, the Commonwealth Court also concluded, without a result of discrimination and student harm, the PHRC had inappropriately imposed conditions upon the district. Of course, it is an understatement that the NSD is satisfied with the results from the court decision and accept this as the conclusion of the issue. In an effort to maintain transparency with the public, from time to time, the board has updated our community on the status of this case. In that regard, our district's total financial burden for the defense over 8 years has been approximately $500,000, with our insurance carrier covering about $115,000 of that, netting a final cost to taxpayers and this community of $385,000. Over those 8 years, those legal costs averaged about $48,000 per year from our budgets. We want to take this opportunity to acknowledge how diligent and professional our legal team was in representing the district and this community. We also want to share that if we did not do what we did to defend the district and the community, the cost in dollars would have been significantly higher in order to comply with the PHRC's demands. But there is no value that can be assigned to the reputational harm to our community. What is the value of not being labeled as a district that discriminates? I'm sure there are many in our community that seeks a better understanding of how this issue developed and how we got to this place. One of the questions that were commonly presented to us was why you didn't try and work it out with the PHRC before it reached such a level. The answer is we did try. On more than one occasion, the representatives from the district met with the representatives of the PHRC. The PHRC had no interest in compromising and trying to achieve a fair resolution. It demanded total capitulation and the expenditure of money on an ongoing basis to what the PHRC demanded us to do. It had an agenda, and it did not issue a decision based on the proper application of the law to the facts, as you can interpret very easy from the Commonwealth's court decision. The PHRC had improperly applied the facts, the law, and its own authority in the case. Another question often asked, not only from our public, but others concerning this case, is why you would spend so much money to defend a name. The answer is we were never defending only a name. We were defending the district from being labeled as discriminatory. We were defending the district against having to spend much more money to remove Native American imagery and to take other actions that the PHRC demanded we take. The incurred legal fees were ultimately less costly than the estimated cost of complying with the PHRC demands, but our decisions were never solely based on dollars. The PHRC claimed that the Neshaminy School District was in some way contributing to a climate of discrimination and intimidation through its use of the word Redskins and its use of Native American symbolism and images. According to the PHRC, this alleged discrimination and intimidation denied students access to an education. However, as the result of this final order, the school district was vindicated because the PHRC claims were unsubstantiated and never supported by any evidence and investigation. The PHRC took these actions against the school district without any prior investigation, and the school district proved that their investigation was shoddy at best. Importantly, the PHRC claims were contrary to the history of support for Native American culture that the school district sought to advance. While that alone in our eyes would be enough reason to bring defense, the PHRC also wanted to subvert and interfere with the duly elected public school board's rights and responsibilities as to the curriculum of its students. This level of interference and subversion was too great not to defend against, not only for the reputation of our district, but the community that supports this district. Now, this brings us to what we believe is the most important question. Where do we go from here? First, this district and community has been through a lot over the last 16+ months. We need to take some time to review and digest this decision in its totality, but more importantly, we need to recover from the social and emotional isolation this pandemic has brought upon us all. Our first priority is allow the district to regain the status of where we were before March 2020 in areas of academic achievement and social interaction between students. Once we are confident we have achieved such, we need to foster a dialogue between our community members about how we want our district to continue representing itself. This conversation is not about team names and symbols. It needs to be much deeper than that. The formation of the Neshaminy School District dates back to 1951, and the Native American linkage that we employ dates back farther than that, all the way back to the 1930s from the old Langhorne High School that was located on Cherry Street in Langhorne Manor. These conversations need to focus on what we believe as a community and those linkages to the historical and cultural past that are representative of those that inhabited this area before us. We need to discuss the importance of such, and if we are to continue them, and if so, by what symbolism and associations do we employ to maintain that? How to link them into more of our school curriculum? Or do we totally walk away from those historical associations and institute new ones? These are the questions from day one we believe this board has embraced, that it should ultimately be the community that makes those decisions, not an agency that has no relationship or knowledge of our area's heritage and culture. On behalf of the School Board of Directors, the Neshaminy School District, I want to thank you, the Neshaminy community, for your support during this time and maintaining the strong sense of integrity and dignity that Neshaminy is known for. Thank you. This moves us on to public comment. Is there anybody that wants to approach the podium for public comment? Hearing none, board comment. Any board members have any commentary for this evening?
I would just like to, I'll start. Oh, right, we do let Dr. McGee go first.
When we move back to the boardroom, I will not skip you, I promise.
That's okay. That's okay. I'd like to address Berkeley's comments. I think she just left, unfortunately. I'll tell you what, when I was in 5th grade, there's no way I'm coming to that podium to talk to a board, so well done, well done. And I can say for myself, and I think I can probably express the opinion of everybody on stage, we totally agree with you. That is our goal, to enter September without masks. That's the goal of every school in the county, and that's what we intend on doing. The only question is that 9 weeks between now and then, if something changes in the world and in the environment that makes us do it differently by some organization that has a power larger than the body on this stage here. So well done, Berkeley, and to all, enjoy your summer, be safe, and we will see you back on September 1st, 4th grade, or kindergarten, 5th grade, kindergarten, 5th grade, and 9th grade, September 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. McGee. Any other board members have any commentary?
I would just like to say, yes, it's been a long year. I think everybody did admirably, from the students to the teachers to the support staff to administration to everybody. It's been a long haul. I'd like to thank everybody for their efforts and enjoy summer, because if you blink, you're going to miss it. I look forward to coming back in September without masks on, and I know most of the high school students are looking forward to having gym night come back. Thank you, everybody.
Anyone else?
I'd like to say a couple words. I'd like to congratulate the high school baseball and softball teams for their successful seasons. Well done in your championship wins. You guys did great. Also, congratulations, class of 2021. It was an honor to take part in both the graduations at the high school and at the Bucks County Technical High School. Best of luck, and I wish you well in your future endeavors. Also, Berkeley, boy, so well spoken for a young lady of 5th grade going into 6th grade. It's a shame she left. So if you're watching at home, I encourage you to keep up those public speaking skills, because that's something you will definitely use later in life. And yes, I cannot wait to get back to normal Neshaminy, normal football games and gym night and no masks. So have a safe and fabulous summer, and we'll see everybody back here in the new school year.
Thank you, Mrs. Bowman. Anyone else?
Yeah, I can go. From the standpoint of an educator as well as a school board member, this was a crazy year. It was difficult for everyone. And I, for one, I'm sure everyone else here, are just happy to see the 2020-2021 school year come to a close. I'm looking forward to next school year and hopefully getting back to what we'd like to think is normal. But I'm hoping it's going to be better than that, and I think it will. So thank you.
And I want to mention congratulations to Mr. Kovitz. He had a graduate in this year's class. If you want to take a moment to,
Actually, two of us on stage had graduates. Yeah,
well,
had-
we'll get to him.
Yeah,
This
three.
is your time.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
This is-
Oh, from
this is your
tech school.
time.
So, yes, my son Dan graduated, and very proud of him. He's excited to be moving on to pursue a career in music education. I know Mr. Cirillo and Ms. Bowman also had grads this year, too.
Thank you, Mr. Kovitz. Anyone else? Well, Mr. Cirillo, we're going to have to ask you to have some commentary about your success this year in graduating.
Yes, I'm very proud. My oldest son, Jacob, graduated this year, and he's going to pursue a career in special education, and that is a direct result of the quality of care and support from his teachers here at the high school. He became very passionate about that late this year with teachers like Mr. Brodsky, Mr. Brown, Mr. Fink, all the special education teachers, Mrs. C's. So they do an amazing job here. I actually thanked Tony at graduation for the great job that his staff had done. And yeah, I'm looking forward to his future. He's got a bright future because of this school district, and I'm grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cirillo, and congratulations. Anyone else?
Okay, so I guess I have to congratulate Ethan.
Yes,
So
you do.
Sorry, I skipped you, Ethan. So Ethan was a graduate of Bucks County Technical High School, class of 2021, in outdoor power equipment, and he's already working full-time. So that just speaks to the quality of the education over there at the technical high school. He literally graduated last week and is already working in a full-time job in his career, in his shop. So congratulations, E.
That's fantastic. Mr. Allen, go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Furtado. I want to congratulate my fellow board members for their graduates. It was my honor to attend both graduation ceremonies, to witness and videotape Ms. Bowman's Ethan receiving his diploma from Bucks County Technical High School. And I just want to say it's an understatement that these last 15 months have been extraordinary. And all along, every month there seemed to be something new, something different, a change. And I just think that as a community, as a district, our students, the staff, teachers, administration, everyone just kind of looked back, insurmountable obstacle, the next one around the turn, and just handled it. And I think that's extraordinary. And I just want to take a minute and just appreciate where we were the day the schools closed literally overnight and everyone went home and no one knew what tomorrow was going to bring, let alone next week, next month, next year. And I think we did an extraordinary job. And I hope to God we turn the corner, and yes, we can all greet each other in September next to each other without masks, and I'm just so looking forward to that. It was such a pleasure to look online, all the graduation ceremonies, all the move-up ceremonies leading up to the high school graduation, to be able to attend the tech school graduation and then the high school graduation in person instead of the way we handled it last year. And again, we handled it last year in person, but it was so gratifying to be able to come back together as a community and to do as many of our traditions as we can. And next year, of course, gym night. My God, it didn't seem like a year without gym night. I get that in the community, believe me. The girl at the deli, when she saw my mask one day, asked me about gym night. I had to break her heart and tell her we weren't doing it. I didn't get my sandwich on time. But we all know how passionate this community is. And I just want to say, just pause and think where we were, where we are now, and where we're heading forward. I am just so proud of this community and to be a member of Neshaminy. And wish you all wonderful summer and look forward to seeing you all come September. That's it. Thank you.
Anyone else before we close? I just missed two things. Mrs. Burns, I will provide you with a digital copy of my announcement for the record. And to the public, I forgot to announce that we will be posting the Commonwealth Court's decision on our website for the public to read. Graduation. I was honored to be allowed to be a speaker at graduation. For all of those that watched the replay, I was not having a stroke, even though it sounds like it. Unfortunately, I did not take the advice of the school principal, who said, you know, you ought to wear earplugs. You'll find you'll be able to speak better when you're up there. And unfortunately, the reverb from that stadium sound system was messing up with the cadence. So anyone that sees it, I'm in perfect health. So my apologies for those if it didn't come off well. I was so impressed with our staff. The way they put on that event was excellent. I can't say enough about the students, the way they presented themselves. The speeches that some of the students made were impressive. Our senior class choir, the way they sung was angelic, is the only word I could use. It was the weather cooperated. It was one of the best graduation weathers we've ever had. It was just a wonderful experience, and after such a, I'll say, traumatic year, it was just such a great way to close it. And I want to thank again our Neshaminy support staff, our Neshaminy certified teachers, everyone that volunteers here at Neshaminy, our school staff and administration. This year has been trying. It's pushed many to their limits. In the end, I think we did better than we ever expected we would do. And as Mr. Allen just said, I am so glad that this year is over. And for our Berkeley, as everyone else said, acknowledged her, it is fantastic that a fifth grader can come up to the podium and address as well as she did. And we are going to do our best that you're going to be maskless and be able to enjoy commiserating with your friends again and have a normal school environment. This will be our last meeting that we will hold in this auditorium. When we do post the July meeting, yet to be determined, we will be returning to the Maple Point boardroom where the meetings will take place. I can just tell you from my experience, while this is a nice venue, it doesn't do anything to have us more freely interact between ourselves, because we don't get to face each other's or facing each other's backs, and engage with the community that decides to come and participate in the meeting. So I much look forward to getting back to the board meeting room. With that, I want to just say thank you all for this year, and onward and upwards to much better experiences here at Neshaminy. With that, have a great summer. A motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second by Ms. Hollenbach. Thank you all. Have a great summer.